Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I am living life freely here on YouTube. I am a full-time reseller on eBay, Poshmark, have things on Mercari, and I'm also a live seller with kids clothes and do shared shows and all kinds of things. So I do dabble in a few things. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are new to reselling, welcome to the community. I've actually been running into quite a few people who on my lives are literally brand new to Poshmark and reselling and are literally just checking out shows and diving into things, and it's a bit overwhelming. And speaking of being overwhelming, if you're curious about what we're going to talk about this week on a weekly reseller chat, yes, it's that time again already. Do stay tuned. I have some topics I think sometimes we just kind of want to steer away from, but you know what? We can't do that. So stay tuned. Okay, guys, when I talk about those topics that we want to steer away from, I'm going to be really, really honest with you guys. I have been kind of going through some of those ups and downs emotions. Now, I know we all know what I'm talking about here. Where throughout the day, you're like, oh my gosh, yay, I made that sale. I can't believe that happened. To, not again. To, okay, what's next? To, do I want to check this notification? And all that can literally happen within like a day or hours while you're reselling. And your emotions are like this. You feel like just like a bouncy ball up and down where you're just like, okay, what emotion am I going to feel next in my reselling journey today, let alone this week or this month or this year, right? And I know I'm not the only one, because other videos that I watch, other things that I see on Instagram, there's a lot of things right now where people are just kind of like up and all over the place, emotions, frustrations, whether it's dealing with sourcing, customers, dealing with companies you're buying from, other resellers that you might be frustrated with. No, that shouldn't happen, but yes, it does. There are so many emotions to deal with as a reseller that a lot of times, sometimes we talk about, but a lot of times we're not really brutally honest with ourselves that in reselling, it is such a mixed emotions, a fun, amazing business to be a part of, and yet at the same time, it can be extremely overwhelming too. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've had so many of those the last few days on top of being really overwhelmed. And part of my being overwhelmed right now is just the transition that I'm trying to go through in my business. It's a great transition. But we have a lot of stuff going on right now, on top of the fact my husband's going back to a full-time job. He was offered a position here locally, and so he's going back to work actually tomorrow full-time. And we are also diversifying, looking at different ways of diversifying as a reseller. So there are a lot of things on our plate right now. And you know what? It's all good stuff, but at the same time, it can be overwhelming. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm really looking forward to my little mini vacation I have planned for myself. I think probably in August, maybe early August, late July, or probably early August. My husband and I are going to be taking like a day trip just to kind of get away. And I thought about just putting my shops on vacation for like just a few days. But I think honestly I may just take a week off. I think I need it. Because honestly, once middle of August hits here, I think honestly it's going to get super, super busy. And I would love to just be able to take a break. I'm looking forward to doing it, but at the same time, you know, you get so used to a certain routine that you go through, and I'm so used to my routine that I do that it's gonna actually feel kind of weird not doing that routine, especially since we're not like going somewhere on vacation. I'll just be here, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take definitely maybe 3 to 5 days off, at least 3 days off, maybe a full week off on a weekend or something like that, just to literally just like dump, you know, just to like, okay, no sales going on, no shipping to do, no things to think about. I don't really need to source right now any boxes because I still have 3 boxes to unbox. Plus I have plenty of kids' clothes to deal with and to work through. So I honestly don't need sourcing. But yeah, so that's kind of on a personal note for the weekly reseller chat, kind of a catch up. Our sales have been still slow, but the sales that I'm making, I'm either getting rid of old inventory, which has been great, or I'm making good sales on product that has just come in, which is really great. So I'm not complaining about sales. My lives still are slow, which is to be expected. But yeah, so let's just kind of dive into some topics. Let's see what we have going on right now. Let's talk about inventory storage. And one of the reasons why I bring this up is because I had an inventory storage that I started off with, but it's an expensive storage because prices have gone up on bins. I do have bins, which I literally started out with when we first started reselling a couple years ago. And I've even talked with other resellers when they go out and get their bins to add more inventory. They're talking about how expensive bins are now. They're not cheap anymore. You're talking about sometimes minimum of $12, $13 for one bin now, which is expensive, especially if you're continually adding inventory, right? So I switched to doing IKEA bags, which has been great. The problem is because they don't have like a solidified structure. The bags tend to, lean this way or lean that way. They're great storage bags, but when you have multiple storage bags, you're trying to stack them like you do bins. It's not really the best way to do it. So I'm now looking at doing some boxes, like the smaller boxes, like the Amazon boxes. I would love to know in the comments below from y'all what kind of storage you use, and it doesn't work well for you financially and space-wise, and how much you can get in a box. And if you're expanding your inventory out to be able to make more sales because you're wanting to add more to your inventory, is that working for you economically? I would love to know in the comments below what kind of storage you use. Is it bins, boxes, IKEA bags? What do you use for your storage? Now, I know some of you don't have a lot of inventory. Some of you are part-time and you have maybe 200 or 300 items in your inventory, and there's others who have hundreds, and sometimes some people have thousands of pieces of inventory. And I'm curious to know what kind of inventory you use for your storage. Okay. This next thing is going to kind of lead into a few different things. But before I get into this, let me talk about one other thing here. Slow season right now. I think we're through probably a good 3/4 of our slow season because we are now in the middle of July. I know, I can't believe it. We're in the middle of July already. So I know around here we have 4 more weeks before kids here start school. Our kids start school the middle of August because they get out the middle of May. So we have 4 weeks until moms are already going to be full force into school, sports activities, practices, getting school clothes, getting things going. It's already a topic of conversation, right? With that in mind, I want to talk about keeping our head on straight during slow time. I don't know about y'all, but I definitely had slower sales this year than I did last year this time of year. And I do think that even though we are in slow season, I definitely would say, comparing my notes from last year in June and July, yes, it's a slower season, but I do think that for everybody, this year has actually been slower for a slow season than even last year. Even watching people do their solds, they said that this year has been slower than it was last year during slow season. I don't know if it's the economy or if people are just taking vacations more seriously and like really stepping away. If it is based on economy, then people are being more mindful of what they're spending, which means if they are going on vacation, they're being more mindful of what they're spending while they're on vacation and they're recovering after, and then they have to hit it with getting school closed. So it could be a myriad of things, honestly. It really could be. I know some people's slow sales is just simply because they're still going through the transition of buying better brands, and having better brands in their closet means better sales. That's a factor too for some people. But keeping our head on straight during slow sales, it can be frustrating seeing the slow sales and reminding ourselves that everybody else is going through it. Because especially if you're getting return notifications, I know I've been watching some videos or you see shorts on YouTube where they're saying another return. You know, like I was talking about at the very, very beginning of this, the notifications, you're like you get an eBay notification or a Poshmark notification that somebody sent you a message, and you're dreading whether or not it's an inquiry about a return or somebody's complaining. I happened to look on Poshmark yesterday, and I almost started pulling it up. I'm thinking, okay, what happened? And it was actually somebody telling me how thankful they were about the item that they bought from me, because they've been looking for something similar to it for a while, and they finally found it in my store, and they were so grateful, and they were thanking me through private message for the item and how much they loved it. I love those notifications. And then on eBay, you get those notifications about how people want to return something, because even though you did all the measurements, your pictures were good, your description was good and all that, they just simply didn't like the item or didn't fit because they didn't look at the measurements or whatever, and you're doing another return. We all know those notifications are not fun. So during a time when it's already slow, and then you get returns, or you get people who are just being crazy, asking you the craziest questions about an item before they buy it, or like somebody said on an eBay video that I watched the other day, somebody actually bought something on eBay before they paid for it. They wanted to ask the girl left and right questions, crazy questions about the item before they actually paid for it. Then they end up saying, hey, I'm not going to buy this anyway, and then they just cancel the order. We all know those things, right? We all deal with this stuff. During slow season, it's even more frustrating sometimes because we're not getting the sales that encourage us and motivate us, right? So I would love to know in the comments below how you keep your head on straight during slow season. And I think that this is such an important thing to talk about, because during reselling, like talked about at the very beginning, there are, whether it's slow season or not, there are definitely serious ups and downs as a reseller. There's a lot of emotions as a reseller. I tell you, I still wouldn't trade this for anything. I love what I do, but there are definitely times when you're just like, you have to just take a minute and sit down and just let your brain dump the stuff and regroup, or step outside and get some fresh air and regroup. Or if you're doing listings and you're so burnt out on doing listings, stepping away and going and doing something else and getting your brain away from it for a while so you have a little bit of a revamp, and going back to it a couple hours later and finishing those listings and regrouping. We all go through it. Is it just me? No, I know it's not just me. And I'm hoping that as you're watching this, that you're thinking, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. I would love to know in the comments below what you guys do to accommodate this, to get through this, whether it's slow season or not. How do you keep your head on straight? We haven't even talked about just life outside of reselling. Kids, family, jobs. Because some of y'all work jobs as well as reselling, which I commend you tremendously. I've been there, did that very, 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 very part-time. I did not take it seriously back then. It was just something on the side. But some of you, this is a side income to help supplement your jobs. I would love to know, your kids are yelling in the background, you're trying to do a video, get your listings done. Oh, you gotta stop and make dinner. Oh, you gotta stop. You're in lives, you gotta run back and forth. I'll be right back. People were telling me my lives off and on. Hey, I'll be right back. Gotta run the kids to do their showers to get them ready for bed. I'll be back in half an hour. Will you still be on? I mean, seriously, it's life, right? And I'm always like, absolutely. Or if I know, hey, I won't be on at that time anymore, but I'll be on again at this time. I mean, my gosh, you guys, we have so much stuff going on in our lives, even outside of reselling. I'm thinking the laundry I gotta do, tidying up my living room. What am I making for dinner tonight? What do I have going on tomorrow? My kids, my grandkids. There's so much always going on up here aside from reselling, right? I mean, tell me in the comments below if you're thinking while we're talking about all this in this chat, if you're thinking yes, 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 I want you to leave me a message in the video below. Say yes or give me a heart if you understand where we're all coming from. If you're like, yes, I'm in that boat. Oh my goodness. Okay, next topic of conversation. Let's talk about Goodwill pricing. This is another one of those that kind of blends in with what we were just talking about. People just want to kind of scream and pull their hair out. Am I serious? I was watching a video yesterday, or actually no, it was this morning. A gal was out sourcing, and I've watched a lot of videos lately where people go do their sourcing. And honestly, Dan and I have not been sourcing Goodwill stores lately just because Our sourcing has been in many different directions right now, and it's been really, really working for me. So instead of traveling, I'm actually having it brought here, or I'm doing it online. So I haven't been to my thrift stores in a while. It hasn't been a consistent thing for us because we do have to travel to go do that. But I'm watching videos on people, and I have a reason why I watch these videos, but that's not the topic of this. And they're sitting there screaming and pulling their hair out because Goodwill pricing, not just Goodwill pricing, but other thrift store pricing, but Goodwill specifically, is raising their prices through the roof so badly. And a lot of the stuff has ended up at the bins. And then you see people going to the bins to source, and it's been so crazy at the bins because everybody is fleeing to the bins because they can't source at Goodwill because the prices have gone through the roof. And I'm talking about, like, even the other day I was watching a video of a gal who like lists like 40 items a day. She does a lot of selling. And she was also talking about how pricing in her Goodwill has gone up. And now instead of paying like $5 for something, they're paying like $6, $7, and $8 for certain things. And she said, when I first started out doing this at these thrift stores, it was like half this price. So now she's having to say no to a brand that she would normally say yes to, a good brand that she traveled a minimum of an hour to get to. She's having to say no to that particular item in the thrift store and leave it there because she doesn't want to pay that much for that item. And if the COG isn't worth the item, or the comp isn't worth the item, what does she do now, right? So let's kind of take this in this direction here. I know a lot of you do online sourcing, but I have noticed that more and more resellers now are, since Goodwill isn't doing, helping us in this way. And we all know that online sourcing can be a benefit depending on your COG or not. We've already talked about all that. Some more resellers now are switching to the bins, but if they don't have local bins, they are reaching out to the people who have bins. And there are a lot more resellers now who are not just sourcing for themselves, but they're sourcing for other resellers, and they're selling those pieces to other resellers because the bins have so many closed now because of what Goodwill is doing. There's a certain cycle that's going on. Now, guys, have you noticed this? I know I have been hiring some people to source the bins that are local to them because I don't have local bins. And I'm telling you, it's working for me. And I'm very excited about where that could go. It's really working for me. I am selling pieces that I'm getting. And I'm very, very happy about it. So I would love to know if you are also doing that, or I'm also going to reach out to y'all if you have a bins in your location. I'm going to do a plug for me here. If you have a bins in your location, you have not reached out to me. And when you go sourcing for yourself, if you're interested in sourcing for me, leave a comment down below too. I would love to touch base with you. But I would love to know how many of you all are reaching out to other people that may have bins close to them and getting inventory through sourcing that way. People are doing that through Instagram. I'm seeing a lot of people sourcing through Instagram, connecting with other people who have good access, whether they buy pallets online and are sourcing to other resellers through Instagram is another thing that's going on. People buy pallets, and if they live local to people, you can go do a local shop at like a sale or something, or maybe the storage unit, go pick up pieces from their pallet, buy up, as a reseller can go through another person who bought the pallet, they go and buy from them, and they go home and they sell those items from their pallet sourcing. Or people actually list bulk items from pallets that they bought, and they do like boxes, like big boxes on the platforms. Hey, I have items here, bulk items in this size. There are so many different diverse ways that people are sourcing now, or reselling what's coming in their pallets to other resellers, right? There's a lot of different avenues and different ways that people are finding because they can't source to the Goodwills right now because it's so darn expensive. I would love to know in the comments below if you've revamped your sourcing because of this and what you are doing now to find other ways of sourcing your goods. I would love to know. I would really love to know. Things are changing a lot in the reseller community, guys. This is such a great time to be a reseller because there are so many people who can't afford retail because of the economy right now. And as we've seen, even in the Goodwill stores, things have gone up. And sometimes people don't even have time anymore to go to the stores to buy at the thrift store. Let's even talk about kids' clothes. I was watching a gal doing a video this morning. She's actually the one that kind of struck me in talking about this today. Even kids' clothes at Goodwill stores, guys, have gotten outrageously expensive. Some of the items are charging $8 for one kids' piece at the thrift store. $8 for a kids' piece at the thrift store. When normally, I know when some people started out a few years ago, you could go into a thrift store and find something a few years ago for maybe $2 or $3. Those same pieces now, they're selling for $8, between $5 and $8 for a kid's piece. So this is one of the reasons why, keeping in mind my factor where I have to pay the fee on the platform, why I start my items out at just $6. Now, even at $6, guys, especially if I just sell one piece, you have to keep in mind that the reseller has to accommodate for the seller fee through the platform, even selling kids' clothes. This is one of the reasons why I hope that when people buy from me, they always look at doing bundles of items, so they buy multiple items from me for kids' clothes, so that it's under one shipping, and the cost of the item is cheaper. This is another reason why a lot of moms are going through the platforms for kids' clothes, because they don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to spend money in gas, their time, the expenditure of the thrift stores and all that, when they can just go on Whatnot or a Poshmark Live and purchase kids' clothes all under one shipping, get a good deal on items, and have it come right to their door. Right? This is another reason why it's such a great time to be a reseller, guys, because people are getting a good value for an item from you, good quality, and it comes right to their door. So I would love to know again how you're accommodating for the pricing in the stores. Are you sourcing yourselves for your items? I know I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. I apologize. So sourcing for yourself as a reseller. Are you going to other resellers who buy bulk and resell to other sellers? Or people who also go to bins and have access to that, buying from them, paying them for their time, and then having them ship it to you and selling those items? I would love to know in the comments what you guys are doing. Okay, 2 more things that I want to talk about. Deciding on a business model. I kind of chuckle because the various different business models, especially after watching some of the videos I watched. Everybody has a different way of running their reselling business. Let's talk about a few of them. Live auctions through Whatnot or Poshmark, and listing. There's a lot of resellers when live auctions became available, whether it was Whatnot or Poshmark, they still do listings like me. I still do lives, and I still list on platforms. Then there are other people, because auctions became available, they literally now just do lives. They buy multiple pallets, and they literally sell them at $1 or $3 a piece on lives, and make a killing and sell like 100 pieces at a time, 150 pieces at a time on auctions on a daily basis. They're on 2 and 3 and 4 hours, selling multiple items, shipping 100 to 150 items a day, doing lives, because they're selling for $3+ per item. And honestly, if they're getting pallets, their cost of goods is probably around $1 or less per item, depending on the items that they picked up. They're doing very well doing that. And then there are people who don't want anything to do with doing lives at all, and that's totally fine. But they're trying to find the best way for their business model to work because of the COGS, right? And that's kind of what I want to talk about. So we have a lot of people who have different ways that they do their listings. Some people only buy high-end items. Some people buy lower-end items and resell them. And some people do a mix of both. I do a mix of both because I want to be able to tailor to all of the options that people have accessible to them financially. If you can only afford the $20 item, I want to tailor to you. If you like the nicer pieces, I want to tailor to you. If you have kids' clothes, I want to tailor to you. There are so many moms looking for kids' clothes and the cheaper end items, right? Plus hard goods. There are people who don't even buy clothes, they just buy hard goods, right? And we do some hard goods. And we actually do pretty good with hard goods. We don't sell a lot of hard goods, but when we sell them, we do well with them. And then there are people who have a certain way that they do their offers. And this is decided on how your business model is. That's why I bring this into the subject. I was watching a video of a gal who literally only sells items that she sells for $50 or more. Now, she has a certain way that she sources. She has a certain way she does things. And she only does online sourcing. And there are other people who go and buy something, and if it sells for $10 and they bought it for $2, they flip it. There's so many different ways that people do business models. And it's trying to figure out what business model works best for you. And it's kind of crazy because if you're a YouTube watcher and you're kind of trying to figure out still how things work for you, and you like watching brands, what sold videos, thrift hauls, different things like that to learn new brands and all that, you kind of get in your mind when you're watching all these people, okay, well, maybe that will work for me. Oh, well, maybe that will work for me too. But then your business model is kind of all jumbled up. You know what I mean? Because this person sources differently than you do, and you try, okay, maybe I can try it that way. But then does that work with my business model? And then this person over here is doing this. It's kind of like when you buy inventory, you see somebody that buys a box, and you're like, oh my goodness, I should go buy that box, without doing the research to figure out if it works best for your business model. It's the same way with like learning how to listing items, listing at a certain price. And then you have some people who, when they do their listing, they list it high and then offer really big discounts right away. There are some people who list right at what they want to sell it at, and they hold out for the person, the right buyer, to actually sell it at exactly the listing price, and they're willing to hold on to it until then. There are some people who want to have their items sold within 3 months, and then they move on to the next items. There are some people who are okay with 6 months to a year. See what I'm saying? There's so many different business models. How do we figure out what business model is best for us? And I'll tell you, my business model is not the same as what it was when I first started. And I'm even still kind of in the process of revamping. For me, I think a big factor for a lot of people that determines their business model is how much room they have in their house to store the items that they're selling. A lot of people do not have the ability to list thousands of items because they don't have space in their house to store thousands of items. And if they do go beyond that, then they're talking about a storage unit, or a storefront unit, or a separate house space or something like that that they rent to either store their stuff, and then they go pick up their stuff for shipping, and then they just do their main stuff in their home, or they literally do their entire business out of a storage unit and do it all from there, or they just have a storefront. So there's a lot of factors to think about when you're considering your business model. I know for Jen and I, we have a big house, and we have a main room where we have most of our inventory, but we have filled out that room quite a bit. So again, a lot of my inventory back there, though, is a lot of stuff from the first year that I sourced that isn't flowing. Thank goodness some of it is selling off, but some of it I am just going to get rid of, because somebody said once that it's better to take a loss on an item that costs you $3 and move on to an item that's going to make you a profit than holding on to something that you're hoping will still sell and taking up space than an item that will actually sell and make you money. Does that make sense? So I've been in the process of flushing through stuff and figuring out how that's going to work back there. And my husband has been doing research on some other diversity that we're diving into. I'm not ready to share it right now. We are literally in the first phase of it, and we are still trying to figure out how it's going to work, what it's going to do for us. So I'm not even going to go into that. But I'm curious how you decided on your business model. Did it base on the space that you have in your house? Did it base on the fact you still work full-time and you're only part-time? I would love to know what your business model is. Tell me in the comments below, what is your business model? And how did you decide on that business model? And are you working on tweaking it, especially with all the changes we've been talking about as resellers, between sourcing, COGS, and space as a reseller? A lot of those factors depend on what kind of business model you have, right? It really does. It really, really makes a difference. Okay, and the last thing that I want to talk about is, I can't believe I did that. Okay, now let's talk about why I said that. How many of y'all, you're busy listing, okay, and you convince yourself when you become a reseller, and you watch other people in their videos or in Instagram talk about a mistake that they made, and you're like, I'll never do that. I'm going to learn from you. I'll never do that. I think I mentioned this in a video before. The problem is that we are human and we make mistakes, right? We are human and we make mistakes. I don't want to admit that, but it's true. How many times have you listed an item and you forgot to put the storage or the number and how you do your storage on your items? You forgot to put that SKU number in the listing. Something sells and you can't find the item. How many times have we all done that? I did it today. I've actually found a few pieces in my listings where they do not have a SKU, and I'm not sure where in my inventory they are. And the thing is even if you go through as many things as you think you know where it is, because I have a certain way that I do my listings, and I'm looking through my inventory in my in my list perfectly. Okay, so maybe it could be here. But then you reuse bags, and it could be in one of those bags, and you don't know which bag it could have been. You don't know what SKU it could have been, that the bag that could have been. So you have an inventory piece back there that is ready to sell. You're making a great profit on the piece, but you can't take the sold item because you can't pull it to ship it. How many of us have done that multiple times? I'm embarrassed to say it's happened a couple times lately, and I hate that. I hate it. I've been so mindful when I do my listings lately, and I've actually tweaked my listings a little bit today because it happened again to me this morning. I was kicking myself in the butt. I'm like, I know I have this item. I know it's in there, but I can't find it because I don't know what the SKU is. So now I'm not only putting the SKU number in my description at the very, very bottom after all my stuff, as well as the SKU in eBay. So that if I forget to put it in the SKU in eBay when I'm transferring things over, at least it's still in the description. And the description gets transferred over to the Mercari and Poshmark descriptions too. So all I have to do is scroll down on that item and see it in the description if I forget to put it in the SKU. And hopefully I won't forget to put it down there. But how many of us have done that or made other mistakes? We have sold something. This is another one that happens. If you list on Poshmark, and this is actually kind of one of my peeves with Poshmark. You list on Poshmark, but if you sell on other platforms and something has a like on Poshmark and there's an offer out on that item, if that item sells on another platform, you can't go through and cancel the item if it has an offer on it on Poshmark. You have to wait till the offer's over and has ended. And if you forget to do that after it's ended, it can resell again on Poshmark, and they're trying to figure out why you can't find the item. When you go back through your sold and you realize it sold in another place, and you realize it had a liked on it before, and you couldn't delist the item because it had an offer on it. I hate that. I've had that happen a few times too. And I know some people have chosen not to list on Poshmark if they sell on eBay because of that reason. They list specifically on eBay only and they don't sell on Poshmark because of that exact reason that Poshmark does that. I had debated about literally just selling on eBay. I've been pondering it off and on for a while now. My only thing is I do make quite a few sales on Poshmark, and I do make enough sales on Mercari where it makes a difference in the monthly finances of what sells, right? Because those numbers sometimes make a difference, especially when it's slow. So, and I have built up Poshmark to a pretty big point. And I do make good sales on Poshmark, plus I have my lives on Poshmark. I have seriously contemplated about dumping Poshmark and just selling on eBay because of some of those things that I just talked about with the like and the offers and the fact that it makes an issue there. Plus, I have thought about just selling on one platform instead of cross-posting, doing more listings. Now, I know I'm kind of going off here, but this is kind of related to some of the frustrations we're talking about. I'll end with this because I don't want this video to be too long. I'm kind of sharing with you some of the things that have been going through my brain. I have thought about just listing on one platform. Tell me in the comments below if you've thought about that. If you thought about literally just listing on one platform and just keeping it simple. And the only reason why I've thought about doing it is because instead of cross-posting, I could be listing more items and having more items on eBay. But I'm getting to the point where I could start hiring somebody now to actually cross-post for me. And it doesn't take that long to cross-post. And still have more time to maybe add another 2 to 5 listings a day. But then I think too that if I take those other platforms away, I think it's always really good not to have your eggs in just one basket, because if you have them on other platforms, you have more eyes in your items, right? So there's a controversy. A lot of people only will list on one platform because they don't have time to list cross-post. And there's other people who say, no, I absolutely will list on other platforms because those listings on those other platforms get in front of more eyes and you make more sales because you're listing and selling on multiple platforms, right? Love to know in the comments below what you think of that. I have not ditched Mercari yet because I still am making sales on Mercari. And the sales that I do make, sometimes it's a couple extra $100 a month, and that's a big deal, right? So I'm still listing on eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari. I'm not expanding out into anything else. Those are the 3 platforms I list on, and my sales are doing well on all 3 platforms. But now that I'm getting to the point where I can actually maybe hire somebody to do my cross-posting, that will actually give me the ability to maybe add an extra 2 or 3 extra items a day. Right now, I'm averaging about 12 to 15 new listings a day on eBay, and then yes, I do cross-post them on my other platforms. But I have to keep in mind though, on my schedule, I also run YouTube. I'm also doing lives, and some people just list. That's all that they do. So they're able to do those other things, and other people who do that and eBay and lives, they also hire out those other things. So again, that's a different business model. Everybody has a different business model. I am thinking about hiring somebody in another month or 2 to do factors about my business that I don't want to be doing, especially now that my husband's gone back to work. We've been talking about it. In probably another month or so, maybe a month and a half, I have a person in mind that I'm going to be hiring on very, very part-time to do some things for us that I don't want to have to take time to do, and I think it's going to make a difference in how many more listings I'm going to be able to do. Okay, guys, I'm going to let it be that. I hope this wasn't too much of a mumbo jumbo. I know sometimes when I'm talking about something, I kind of go on a rabbit trail and I'm really working. It's hard because my brain thinks about things while I'm talking. Tell me in the comments below if your brain does that too. I try to keep on a topic and make it sensible. So I apologize if sometimes it's not sensible. I'm working on that. Desperately working on that in my videos. So if that's been a problem, please forgive me. I am working on being sensible and one track as I go through. I hope this video was a blessing to you. Please comment down below on any of the topics we talked about today. Inventory, listing things that you forget about and maybe they resell again. Not being able to find inventory. Sourcing through other people who get pallets, or through Instagram or whatever. Sourcing through other resellers. Sourcing online. The issues with the Goodwill pricing going up. Just tell me anything, any thoughts in the comments below. If I made a mistake in something and you're like, you know what, but that is, no. Let me know in your comments if you have a difference of opinion about something. I would love to hear your thoughts, your views on it. I would love that. Again, guys, please feel free to like this video if it's a blessing to you. Do subscribe. It is free of charge, you guys. I hope you like the way I've been doing some of my videos. I've been trying to chasing things up and make it a little bit more fun for y'all. I did have a video coming up about eBay shipping. I was actually going to put it out this week, but my video got messed up, so I have to redo it for you. It is coming. I promise it's coming. And also, I'm going to be doing a video on another brands. I have some unboxings coming up, so if any of that is a blessing to you, please do subscribe. And guys, I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.